morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great.
Great. I just want to thank you for taking the time to sit with us to let Nura get to know you just a little bit more. For you, you represent what it means to have it all: brains, beauty, and power.
Oh my Lord. Well, thank you. And thank you for the interview.
You're welcome. And congratulations on another term as state's attorney. How do you feel about that?
You know what? I have been very blessed. This work is so meaningful to me. I'm a Prince Georgian. I grew up here. This is my home, and so to have the opportunity to serve a community I love is a very big deal to me. I don't take it for granted. So I'm honored, and I love the work, and I'm excited about what's to come.
Well, you broke some barriers there. You still hold the reins to be the youngest, the first African-American female, so you definitely put your stamp here in Prince George's County.
Well, thank you. You know what? Nobody gets any place alone. Okay. So there were a good number of women who came before me who did exceptional things here. We have Judge Tillerson Adams, who was the first African-American woman to be appointed to the bench here. And there's Judge Toni Clark, who was not elected as state's attorney, but served as state's attorney. She was appointed. So I recognize that there are people who come before me and that I have an obligation to do as much as I can to make sure that other women have the same opportunity.
Why did you choose law? What was it about the judicial system that interested you the most?
I chose law very early, actually. So probably around 6th grade, 7th grade, I decided I wanted to defend people.
Always nice.
I thought this would be a great way to do that. I wanted to fight for people. Didn't know what area of law, but always said, I think I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to law school.
I wanted to talk a little bit about something else that's been in the media lately. It's been these outcry of the civil justice cases. And a lot of it has to do with social profiling and negative run-ins with law enforcement. Do you have any suggestions for ways that you think that we can bridge the gap or just foster better relationships between law enforcement and the community?
Oh, absolutely. You know, I think Prince George's County, I'm a little biased in saying so, but has a really good model for this. We have our Chief of Police, Chief McGaw, has made it a very big priority to execute community policing. That means long before an incident occurs, establishing trusting relationships with people you work for. So the police are regularly at church services, they are in community meetings, they are in schools. So having that relationship prior to something going wrong, I think is a critical thing. One of the other things that I think we can learn from what we're observing in Ferguson, in New York and other places is that political engagement is critical. It is absolutely not only critical, but it is our responsibility to be engaged, to elect individuals who represent us, all of us as a community, who will represent the values of that community. And when you disengage and you allow people to be elected who you believe do not understand you, do not value you, do not respect you, then you have the tensions that we saw grow in Ferguson. We see some of the results that we saw in Ferguson, people who are not registered to vote, not voting, not educated. So we really have to be engaged and responsible for our own communities.
And you did speak a lot as far as what the law enforcement, what politicians can do. What would you say for the young man or young woman who find themselves in certain situations to where they're interacting with law enforcement? What recommendations do you give to them?
You know, I think one of the things that I recommend is recognizing, first of all, that you do have rights. And when you recognize that you have a right, that means that you don't have to react violently in those situations. If you can remain calm, request, if you're interacting with a person, first of all, you have to be respectful. You just do. When you're being approached by an authority figure. But knowing that if something goes wrong in that interaction, that there's a recourse for it. That you can file a complaint, that you can have the person who represents you, who's elected, to follow up on that. But I think that recognizing that you do have rights and that those rights are bound to be respected and to do things to remain safe. And so not engaging in an altercation with the police officer there on the scene, making sure that it's a safe situation, that they can see your hands and all of that would be critically important.
I think that's something we can all take from that. That's
exactly. Yeah, stay calm and realize that you do have rights. You do.
What are some of the other things that your office is focusing on? Is there anything in particular that...
We're focusing now not only on domestic violence, and one of the things we're doing is working with the faith community. I'm very excited about this. So we've done a couple of things. We've worked with young women. When we first got here, we had something we call the Sisterhood Summit. And the Sisterhood Summit was for young girls 13 to 18 years old.
Okay.
We talked about self-esteem. We talked about engagement as well with the community. We talked about teen dating violence. So we really tried to pour into young people. We had a Brotherhood Summit where we talked about jobs. We had camping opportunities, mentoring organizations, really to try to prevent people from getting involved in crime. And now we're moving to a family summit that we're hosting in April. And so we're focusing on investing in and protecting children by raising attention to the fact that children are victims of domestic violence. Sexual assault is a huge issue in our community, has long been a huge issue. So we hope to be able to, especially in the next administration and this next term, be able to address not only domestic violence, but sexual assault is huge, not only for young women, it's huge for young men. 1 in 4 young girls will be sexually assaulted before their 18th birthday, and 1 in 6 boys will be sexually assaulted before their 18th birthday.
People know that.
No, the numbers are staggering. We see it play itself out in different ways, but it's something that is long overdue in terms of addressing, ripping the silence from it, and making sure that we address it, because it does lead to all kinds of horrible outcomes as the years progress, because these are people who have been injured, whose injuries are never healed. So we'll be dealing with those issues. We've been, of course, always interested in continuing to see violence decline. Okay. So recidivism, we have been very firm with violent repeat offenders, making sure that we are firm in terms of arresting and incarcerating individuals who commit violence in our communities. We've seen those numbers come down. We've had a 45% decline in homicides since 2011
really?
In our county. Absolutely. So the numbers are coming down. Violence has come down as well, but we're going to continue to work on those while quality of life crimes and violence in the family is addressed. So supporting families is a priority.
Families as a whole.
Families, as every member of the family, is significant. What do we do to protect women? What do we do to protect children? What do we do to protect men and to provide opportunities?
What you're saying is stuff that I can use in my career, and so many other people can use in their career, especially women who may not see, the light at the end of the tunnel. So, any pearls of wisdom you can offer girls who are aspiring high but may not see it, or even the young law student who may not know where the road will take them?
You know what, I say cherish every opportunity, even the ones that don't seem to go so well. I've had some failures in my life too, or things that seem like failure at the time they occurred. Okay. And then I look back on them now as a person who's had some experience, and the things that looked like they were failures at the time, if you remain positive, they turn around. You look back and say, I learned something from them. And so really just kind of never giving up. Never. Remaining hopeful at all times. And so there have been times, I remember in law school, for example, I really wanted to be on something called moot court. I competed for it, and I was so devastated when it didn't work out. To be on this moot court team, and who would have known that I still would have had an opportunity later to become a prosecutor, to go into a real courtroom and argue. And so if you don't get too defeated, no matter what it looks like, there's some things that are going to hurt you along the way, professionally, personally, even. You know what? Never give up. Always look for that light, like you said with Nura. Always look for the light, and you'll find it. There's some positive that comes out of even the most devastating situations. Look for those, and just be grateful. You know what? I think sometimes that there's so much unhappiness that comes with just not having the basic attitude of gratitude. Saying, you know what, it won't all go well, but thank God for the things that do. And so I think that that's very important, because at the end of all of this, we want to be happy. You want to enjoy your life, have some fun while you do it, and do some good and have some fun, right?
Do some good and have some fun. I like
that.
that.
Go to a concert, dance.
Okay, dance.
Yeah, dance a little bit and work as hard as you can.
No stress and worries, because I think sometimes it sets you back. Well, you may have some worry, but
we all do. But just remember, like I said, just to be optimistic. Say, you know what, I can't, we can see down the street, and then there's a curve around the corner. Sometimes you can't see that, but I'm telling you from my experience, I've had some things that did not go well or didn't seem to go well, and before I know it, wow, you know what, I'm glad I learned from that. And that was exactly what I needed to take me into the next experience. So painful things aren't always to destroy you. It's to make you stronger and to prepare you for the mission ahead. And some of those things you don't get when just from feel-good kind of stuff. It has to be some disappointment that you learn patience, or that you learn perseverance, sometimes you got to just buckle down and say, you know what, I'm not giving up on this. You know, I'm going to study. It was hard for me, I'll say this and not talk too long. I was diagnosed with attention deficit disorder early on.
Really?
Yes. And so sometimes none of this came easy for me. Okay. Focusing, I had to spend hours upon hours studying things that I think probably took the average person not quite as long, you know. But I was going to do it. It was never even a thought to me that I couldn't. It just took me a little longer.
Okay. I love it. You've shared so much. Again, I really want to thank you for taking the time. I took a lot from it. I know Nura is going to take a lot from this, all our readers and audiences. So again, just thank you.
Thank you.
We will definitely use this to better ourselves. So again, is there anything else you want to share with Nura?
No, thank you for the opportunity to talk to you. I appreciate it very much.